Hello everyone, I am Amelia. Today I am going to read Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived with her mommy in a cottage on the edge of a big forest. Whenever the little girl went outside to play, she wore a beautiful red cloak that her grandma had made for her. It had a big red hood, so everyone called the little girl Little Red Riding Hood. One day, Little Red Riding Hood's mommy asked her to take a basket of food to Grandma. "Grandma isn't feeling well," Mommy explained, "and I am sure she'd love to see you." Grandma lived on the other side of the forest, so Mommy drew a map on a piece of paper so that Little Red Riding Hood wouldn't get lost. "And remember, don't talk to any strangers along the way," said Mommy, helping Little Red Riding Hood into her cloak. Little Red Riding Hood took the basket of food and skipped into the forest. On the way, Little Red Riding Hood saw some beautiful blue flowers. "Grandma might like these," she thought. As she bent down to pick a handful of the flowers, she didn't realize someone else was in the forest. "Hello, little girl," said a deep, growly voice. Little Red Riding Hood jumped with fright. A big wolf peered out from behind one of the trees. "Oh, hello," replied Little Red Riding Hood, smiling back at the wolf. She had already forgotten her mommy's winning. "Where are you going?" growled the wolf. "I am visiting my sick grandma who lives on the other side of the forest," Little Red Riding Hood explained. "Ay, what a kind girl you are," smiled the wolf, showing off his razor-sharp teeth. Just then the wolf's tummy gave a loud, rumbly grumble. "What was that?" asked Little Red Riding Hood. "Just some thunder over the hills," said the sneaky, hungry wolf, as he ran away as fast as he could to Grandma's cottage. The hungry wolf peered through Grandma's window and saw the old lady in bed. With a loud howl, the wolf dashed into the cottage and gobbled up Grandma in one large gulp. Then the wolf put on Grandma's spare nightcap and glasses, clambered into her bed, and pulled the quilt up to his chin. Now all he had to do was wait for Little Red Riding Hood to arrive. When Little Red Riding Hood reached the cottage, she was surprised to find the front door wide open. "Grandma?" she called. "Are you there?" "I am in the bedroom," replied the wolf in a strange, wobbly voice. Little Red Riding Hood went into the bedroom and gasped in surprise when she saw her grandma. She looked sort of different. "Grandma must be very sick," thought Little Red Riding Hood. "Hope it isn't catching." "What big eyes you have, Grandma," she said as she went over to the bed. "All the better for seeing you with," the wolf replied, in the same wobbly voice. "Grand, what big ears you have," Little Red Riding Hood added, moving closer. "All the better for hearing you with," said the wolf, with a toothy grin. "My, what a big teeth you have, Grandma," stuttered Little Red Riding Hood. "All the better for eating you with." Little Red Riding Hood screamed and tried to run away. But the hungry wolf was too fast. He leapt out of the bed and gobbled her up in a single, gray gulp. A passing woodcutter heard Little Red Riding Hood scream and ran into the cottage. When he saw the wolf's enormous belly, he guessed what had happened. He picked up the wolf and shook him hard. Little Red Riding Hood and Grandma flew out of the wolf's mouth. Licky, they weren't hurt, but they were very cross. Grand, Little Red Riding Hood, and Woodcutter chased the wolf into the forest and over the hill. The embarrassed wolf never come back, and Little Red Riding Hood never spoke to strangers again. The end. Now I am going to read the next, Little Red Riding Hood story. Little Red Riding Hood. Once there was a little girl who loved to wear red. She had red shirts and red skirts, red shoes, and a fabulous bright red coat. Her name was Little Red Riding Hood. Early one morning, Little Red's mother packed up a basket. "I have a very special job for you," she told Little Red. "Grandma is feeling sick, will you take her this fresh fruit?" Of course! Cried Little Red, and she put on her favorite coat and kissed her mother goodbye. It was a bright, sunny day, and Little Red skipped through the woods. "Good morning," she called the rabbits and the deer. "I am bringing Grandma special surprise." But someone was peeking from behind a tree. A big, hungry wolf. "Good day," growled the wolf. "What are you doing in the woods all alone?" "I am taking this special basket of fruit to Grandma," Little Red replied. You, though the world. He didn't like fruit. He liked to eat tasty little girls. So the world thought up a plan, a horrible, clever plan. "Why not pick Grandma some pretty flowers?" he said. "Good idea," said Little Red. But as she started gathering daisies, the world raced on the path toward Grandma's house. The wolf knocked on Grandma's door with a thud. 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 "Is that you, Little Red, my dear?" called Grandma. "Yes," squeaked the wolf. "Let me in, it's breakfast time." "Oh, good," said Grandma, opening the door. "What are we having for breakfast?" cried the wolf. "Ah!" yelled Grandma. "You are not Little Red." And she slammed the door, right on his big, furry nose. "Ow, ow, ow!" howled the wolf. In a flash, Grandma ran out of the back door and into the woods to find help. That wasn't nice. The wolf growled, rubbing his nose. But now he could put his terrible plan into action. So when Little Red knocked tap, 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 oh Grandma's door, it was a deep scratchy voice that answered, "Come in, my dear." Little Red walked into Grandma's bedroom and stopped in surprise. "Why, Grandma?" she said slowly. "What big ears you have." "The better to hear you with, my dear," croaked the wolf. "And Grandma," Little Red said carefully, "what big, hairy arms you have." "The better to hug you with, my dear," growled the wolf. "But Grandma," Little Red whispered, "what big teeth you have." "The better to eat you with, my dear," snarled the wolf. And he pounced at Little Red. Just at that moment, the door burst open. In rushed Grandma, with the woodcutter. "Stop right there!" yelled Grandma. "Put her down, now!" bellowed the woodcutter, "or we will chop you up and turn you into a birdhouse." With a terrified howl, the wolf jumped out of the window and ran far, far away, never to return. Little Red hugged Grandma tight. "I am so glad you chased that wolf away," she said. And she gave Grandma the basket of fruit. "What a day of excitement!" laughed Grandma. "Now let's all have breakfast." The end. Thank you for watching. Please like the video.